Back in the 90s, my mom was on the highway heading home from a friend's house late at night. She was driving a really nice Thunderbird. After a while, this big white van drove next to her and the driver started performing some rude gestures, and being young and dumb, my mom reciprocated the gestures. Then the dude pulled a big Bowie knife out of the window. My mom started panicking and sped up to get away, and the van was following right along. Then the guy tried to run her off of the road. Keep in mind, they're probably going 100 miles per hour. She gets on the exit to get home, and he's still following her. When she does get back to the house she shared with my grandparents, she pulled into the driveway, honking the horn and screaming, trying to wake someone up. The van pulls into the driveway, and my grandfather comes out in his underwear with a gun. The dude got scared and drove off. My mom wouldn't leave her house for a month except for school, but never at night. A year or two ago, I was living in the suburbs. I would walk the 20 minutes to the cheap grocery store and walk back if I didn't have that much stuff. Otherwise, I'd call a cab. I was a 21, 22-year-old bony female. Anyway, I noticed this man following me through the parking lot as I made my way across the parking lot to the store. He's huge, probably late 30s or early 40s. He starts asking me questions like what my name is, what my plans are, and the like. I brush him off and keep walking. He's telling me now. Follows me into the store. As I'm walking around, I notice him handling things in the produce section, but not really paying attention to any of them. I go to the cracker aisle and he's doing the same thing. As I go toward the till to pay, he leaves the store. I call my dad and he comes to get me. We see the man standing in the corner where I would have had to walk to get home. The man was waiting for me to leave. Not the scariest thing that I know about, but the scariest thing that has ever happened to me. I worked at a pretty well-known record store in Los Angeles in the 90s. A guy in his early 20s used to come in and ask me about records a lot. And one day in conversation, he let a weird detail about my life slip that I hadn't told him. I brushed it off, thinking my coworkers had mentioned it to him as he was such a regular. About a week later, I was driving home and my car broke down. It was incredibly hot, and I had to walk several miles to get to a payphone, which was outside an elementary school. I called a cab and hung up the phone, and after sitting a moment, it started ringing, so I picked it up. The person on the other end said, "Bad luck about your car. Talk to me until your ride gets here." I hung up the phone, because it was definitely that guy. He had to have followed me from home, trolled my car, called the school to ask for the payphone number, and found a way to call me at that number. There weren't really cell phones at that time, but there was a gas station and a grocery store across the street, so who knows. I immediately quit my job and moved back in with my parents within 48 hours. I went to visit old friends from work a few months later, and they told me that the guy was arrested for kidnapping.